Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. Welcome back to my channel guys, and welcome back to yet another episode of my fragrance challenge called 300 different scents in 300 days. In this challenge I'm trying to wear 300 different scents as my scent of the day in 300 consecutive days. And today's episode is going to cover from day 71 to day 77 of this challenge. I've said this already in some of the previous episodes of this series of videos, but for me the month of December, because it's a special kind of month, it's going to be strictly a designer and niche month, meaning that I'm going to focus on wearing designer and niche scents. And my scent of the day for day 71 of the challenge was the also famous Dior Sauvage Elixir. This of course is something that's turned into a sort of a modern classic type of scent. Dior have taken the original Dior Sauvage DNA, making it more modern, sweeter, longer lasting. This thing is pretty much a beast performing fragrance. It lasts easily over 12 hours on my skin with strong projection, and also has a very high compliment factor to go with that along. The only problem with this fragrance of course is the price tag. The Sauvage Elixir costs pretty much like something that a niche house would make, but if you don't want to spare that amount of money on a 60 milliliter bottle like this, there are a few nice clones of this fragrance, of course the famous Latafa Assad, but you can go with something like Rue Broc Luminous as well, and even something like Ajmal Orbiter. Those three are all good alternatives to Dior Sauvage Elixir. For day 72 of the challenge I went with one of the less known members in the Armani Code family, called Armani Code Absolu Gold. Now this is a very interesting fragrance that's very close to some of the other members of the Code line, but this thing, Armani have done a little twist on the DNA here. They've added the note of iris that adds a slightly powdery type of sweetness to this fragrance, and also they've added saffron that makes this one a little bit more spicy compared to most other members of the Code line. This thing has great performance, great projection, and also is a very nice sort of a cold weather scent, great for date nights as well. All in all, I think this deserves more attention, but unfortunately I think at this point this has been discontinued. I'm lucky enough to have this in my collection, and this was my scent of the day for day 72 of the challenge. For day 73 of the challenge I went with a fragrance that I absolutely love, one of my most favorite all-time scents. It's from the house of Valentino, and it's called Valentino Uomo Intense. Now as you can see I have one of the older style of bottles that has this sort of a very funky and cheap looking cap, if you can call this a cap at all. But this fragrance is pretty similar to something like Dior Homme Intense, although this feels like a little bit more masculine version of Dior Homme Intense. You got a lot of the same players. You got that sweet, powdery, makeup-y type of iris with this fragrance. You got the vanilla that you get in something like the OG, the Valentino Uomo. But also you have a pretty strong leather note in this fragrance that adds this sort of a masculine feeling to it. This is a masterpiece of a fragrance in my opinion, and one of the best designer fragrances ever made. I guess you can call this past week the week of the note of iris, because for day 74 of the challenge I went with another fragrance that has a nice iris note in it, and this time it was the Jean Paul Gaultier's Male Le Parfum. An absolutely fantastic fragrance. I super love this one a lot. It takes the original Le Male DNA, adds a bit more sweetness to it, adds the note of iris, and the end result is absolutely fantastic. This is probably one of my best purchases of last year. I think this was released in 2021, but I got it into my collection in 2022. This has been a beast mode performer for me. Not a very loud fragrance, but it stays on my skin for 12 hours pretty much every time I've worn this. It's a super sexy scent, has a bit of an age factor to it in my opinion, but it's a great cold weather scent and another great date night scent in my opinion. And for day 75 I went with yet another iris fragrance, and this time it was my most favorite fragrance, all-time most favorite fragrance. Day 75 was the 15th of December, and that's my birthday, so I went with this fragrance. You know, it was a special occasion for me, and I'm talking about the Dior Homme Parfum. An absolute masterpiece. Probably the best designer fragrance, men's designer fragrance ever created, and probably one of the best men's fragrances in all of history, you know, including niche and indie and whatnot. As I said, an absolute masterpiece. Takes on the Dior Homme Intense DNA, but makes it a little bit more serious, adds some rose, adds a strong leather note. You get some oud with this fragrance. Another beast mode performer. This thing easily lasts 12 to 14 hours on my skin, projects very nicely. The only problem, I see two problems with this fragrance. The first one is the availability. It's only available in Europe, very hard to find outside Europe. And the second problem with this fragrance is that I think this is a very dressed up scent. You really need to be dressed up, you know, dressed really sharp in order to properly wear your own perfume. For day 76, which was yesterday, I went with another beast mode performing fragrance, and this time it was the red monster from Mancera called Red Tobacco. This thing outperforms all of the other beast mode fragrances that I showed you up to this point. This thing lasts maybe 15-16 hours on skin, but it's also super loud. It projects really hard for 3 to 4 hours. If you want to get noticed, you really need to wear something like Red Tobacco from Mancera. It feels kind of, you know, the scent is kind of artificial a little bit, but at the end of the day, you know, performance does matter, I think. As the name would suggest, this has tobacco, it has lots of spices, it has vanilla, it's super sweet and super strong. So again, if you want something really beast mode for not too much money, because Mancera are well known to have a reasonable price tag, definitely check out Mancera's Red Tobacco. This was my scent of the day for day 76. And for day 77 of this challenge, which is today, I went with what up until recently was my best vanilla scented fragrance in my collection. It comes from Mercedes-Benz, and it's called Club Black. This fragrance is all about the note of vanilla. You got some supporting players. I think there's some bergamot in here, there's some spices, some ouds, benzoin, but at the end of the day, it's all about the vanilla. Super nice, super sweet, very youthful, very playful type of scent. It's an EDT concentration, but has great performance. It's a pretty loud fragrance as well, and definitely can work as a great clubbing night scent. Great for cold weather usage. It can also work as a date night scent if you don't go too heavy on the sprayer. All in all, a fantastic fragrance that unfortunately sometimes can be pretty hard to find, but I have 2 bottles of this just in case in my collection. So guys, this was all for yet another episode of my fragrance challenge called 300 different scents in 300 days. In this episode I covered days 71 to 77. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in my next video. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.